Alfonso Cahero, A Journey into Finance History. Chapter 2, First Recorded Debt in Sumer 3500 BCE. In the land of Sumer, where the mighty Tigris and Euphrates rivers flowed, civilization began to stir. It was a time of wonders and mysteries, where the ancient gods still walked among mortals, and humanity was taking its first steps toward greatness. The Sumerians were a people of ingenuity, their minds brimming with curiosity, eager to understand the world around them. As they settled along the banks of the rivers, they learned to tame the waters, harnessing their power for irrigation and agriculture. With the fertile soil at their feet and the blessings of their deities above, they laid the foundations of what would become one of the world's first great civilizations. In the midst of this fertile land, the city of Uruk rose, its towering ziggurats reaching toward the heavens. Its people were skilled artisans, farmers, and traders who worked the land with the blessings of the gods. Uruk bustled with activity, its streets alive with merchants haggling over goods, farmers tending to their crops, and craftsmen honing their skills. The city was a beacon of prosperity, drawing people from far and wide seeking fortune and opportunity. Under the watchful gaze of their rulers, the citizens of Uruk toiled ceaselessly, their efforts fueling the city's growth and splendor. At the heart of Uruk stood the great temple of Inanna, goddess of love and war, where the faithful gathered to pay homage to their divine patron. The temple was a marvel of architecture, its walls adorned with intricate carvings, and its halls filled with the scent of burning incense. Within its sacred precincts, priests and priestesses performed rituals to honor the gods, seeking their favor and protection. As the sun set over the city, the temple's golden spires gleamed in its dying light, a testament to the devotion of the Sumerian people to their deities. As Uruk flourished, so too did trade, weaving a web of commerce that stretched across the ancient world. Caravans laden with goods traversed the deserts and mountains, connecting distant lands and cultures. The Sumerians were astute traders, their merchants traveling far and wide in search of exotic treasures and valuable commodities. Along the rivers, bustling marketplaces sprung up, where merchants bartered for goods and craftsmen showcased their wares. Trade brought wealth and prosperity to Uruk, fueling its expansion and cementing its status as a thriving metropolis. Amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life in Uruk, a momentous innovation was taking shape: the birth of writing. The Sumerians, ever eager to record their thoughts and deeds, devised a system of symbols to represent words and concepts. These early writings, etched onto clay tablets with reed styluses, marked the dawn of a new era of communication and record-keeping. As scribes painstakingly inscribed their words onto the tablets, they immortalized the stories of gods and heroes, the laws of kings, and the accounts of trade and commerce. Writing became a powerful tool for the Sumerians, allowing them to preserve their culture and knowledge for future generations. In the annals of Sumerian history, one name stands out above all others: Hammurabi, the sixth king of Babylon. Hammurabi was a visionary ruler whose greatest legacy would be the code of laws that bore his name. Engraved onto a towering stele for all to see, the Code of Hammurabi laid out a comprehensive set of laws and punishments, ensuring justice and order in the land. From matters of property and commerce to family and marriage, the code covered every aspect of Sumerian life, establishing a framework of law and governance that would endure for centuries to come. In the bustling markets of Uruk, where merchants haggled over goods and craftsmen showcased their wares, another innovation was taking shape: the concept of debt. As trade flourished and commerce expanded, so too did the need for credit and lending. Merchants and traders seeking to finance their ventures and expand their enterprises turned to lenders for loans of grain, livestock, and other commodities. These transactions were recorded meticulously on clay tablets, with borrowers pledging their assets as collateral and promising to repay their debts with interest. Thus, the first recorded debt in history was born, laying the groundwork for the modern financial systems that would follow. In the ancient city of Uruk, the economy revolved around the temples, which served as both religious centers and economic powerhouses. The temples owned vast estates of land and controlled the production and distribution of goods, wielding immense wealth and influence. Under the stewardship of the priests and priestesses, the temple economy thrived, providing for the needs of the city and its people. From the fields and orchards tended by temple workers to the workshops where artisans crafted their wares, every aspect of economic life in Uruk was intertwined with the temples. It was a system of centralized control and redistribution, designed to ensure the welfare of all citizens and the prosperity of the city as a whole. Debt played a central role in Sumerian society, shaping the lives of its people in profound ways. For merchants and traders, debt was a means of financing their ventures and expanding their enterprises, enabling them to participate in the bustling marketplace of Uruk. For farmers and artisans, debt was a lifeline in times of hardship, providing them with the means to weather droughts, floods, and other calamities. Yet, debt also carried risks and consequences, with borrowers often finding themselves beholden to their creditors and struggling to repay their obligations. In this complex web of credit and lending, the concept of debt became deeply ingrained in the fabric of Sumerian society, shaping its economy, its culture, and its people's lives. For many Sumerians, debt was a burden that weighed heavily upon their shoulders, casting a shadow over their daily lives. Farmers toiled in the fields under the scorching sun, their harvests diminished by taxes and rents owed to their creditors. Artisans labored in their workshops, their creations sold for a pittance to repay their debts. Even the wealthy merchants and landowners were not immune to the pressures of debt as they sought to finance their ventures and expand their enterprises. In this world of constant striving and struggle, debt was both a tool for advancement and a chain that bound its victims in servitude. For those ensnared by debt, freedom was a distant dream, tantalizingly out of reach. Many found themselves trapped in a cycle of borrowing and repayment, their debts growing ever larger with each passing year. Some resorted to desperate measures, selling their land, their possessions, and even their own children to satisfy their creditors. Others fell into bondage, forced to toil as laborers or servants until their debts were repaid in full. Yet, even in the darkest depths of despair, there remained a glimmer of hope, a belief that someday, somehow, as the burdens of debt grew heavier and the cries of the oppressed echoed through the streets of Uruk, whispers of discontent began to spread. In the shadow of the great ziggurats, where the rich feasted and the powerful held sway, there arose a murmuring of discontent among the common people. They saw their hard-earned wealth siphoned away by usurious interest rates, their land seized by greedy creditors, and their families torn apart by the relentless demands of debt. It was a cry for justice that could no longer be ignored, a plea for relief from the crushing weight of indebtedness that threatened to consume them all. In the midst of this turmoil, a movement began to take shape, led by a charismatic figure known as the Amargi, or one who has returned. The Amargi spoke out against the injustices of the prevailing economic system, calling for an end to usury and exploitation and the restoration of balance and equity in society. His message struck a chord with the downtrodden masses, who flocked to his side in search of hope and salvation. Together, they formed a grassroots movement dedicated to challenging the status quo and reclaiming their rights and dignity as free citizens of Uruk. In the year of the great festival of Inanna, as the city of Uruk teemed with revelers and pilgrims from near and far, the Amargi seized upon the opportunity to enact his vision of justice. Gathering his followers in the shadow of the temple, he proclaimed a debt jubilee, declaring that all debts owed to the temples and their agents would be forgiven, and all those held in bondage would be set free. It was a moment of profound transformation, as the shackles of debt were broken and the people of Uruk tasted the sweet nectar of freedom once more.